So this is a video of how to get colors in the terminal in Python. And I've seen this before, like when you do a pip install and so forth in Python, you see sometimes you see colors that come up in the actual terminal. And like, well, how do you get those? That looks quite like nice or useful or helpful. And I've seen it in Node.js as well a number of years back. So this has always been around, and it's kind of like it's quite nice to have it. And if I actually zoom in here, so if I do a few control pluses, when I start typing here in my terminal, the first color is yellow, it's like the command, and then the next colors afterwards are white, and it's all like differentiated, and sometimes that can be helpful, especially for terminal things. So I saw this mentioned somewhere on one of the social media platforms. I can't actually remember which one, but you know, they'll be all over. But what I actually thought I would do, and I saw it mentioned in a different way, which was this module called term color. So what I thought I would do was pull this into Google Bard and ask the actual question. So I'll zoom in so that it can all be seen. How to get colored text in, this is what I typed, how to get colored text in a terminal in Python. So like, how do we do this? And it actually did pull this up, which says import term color. There are a few ways to get color text in terminal in Python. One is to use the term color module. So I import term color, and then you can print out term color and do exactly kind of like as the example says over here. And this particular example will print red in the color red. That's what it will do. But actually, this term color requires a pip install in Python, which means it's a new module, like an external module. And I was just hoping or expecting that there might be an inbuilt module, and in fact there is, because the next suggestion down below is this module here called Colorama. So another way to get colored text in a terminal with Python is use the Colorama module. So I thought I'll go along and try that without doing a pip install. And you can see that here, if I do copy of term color and just sort of like stick it, I don't know, anywhere at the top, right, we get the squiggly underscores. Term color could not be resolved, and that's because we would need to do a pip install, and we don't necessarily want to do that, or Python -m pip. And you can notice the colors as well. Like we've got a white, we've got a grey for the flags, and then so we've got yellow first, then we've got grey for the flags. I'm talking about down, if I over here we've got yellow, then we get a grey, and then we get white. So it's kind of like a little bit of differentiation, which is kind of like helpful sometimes for certain things, so that you know you're going in a certain way. So anyway, term color doesn't exist naturally in Python, but Colorama does, and that's what the suggestion is over here. And so we can do an import Colorama, and that works straight off the bat, and I've kind of like done that, and I'm going to move it to a new module so that we can see how it all works. And then it gives us this little example, and this is exactly what I've copied here. So I've done a copy and I've pasted it straight over here, just sort of like as the example. And what it looks like is hypertext in a way, where there's something that changes the color of, or the style or the color of the text, or whatever you want. So we're saying like turn it to red, and then there's another thing here at the end afterwards, like, so you can think of it as an opening tag and a closing tag, where the closing tag resets all the styles back to normal again. And I'm going to show this. And what I've actually done is I've created a new file here, because everything's clumped up in my old testing thing. So I've created a new file here. It's blank and it's empty, and it's just a file in my system somewhere. I've just renamed this. I just named a file somewhere for the purpose of testing this Colorama module. I hope I've spelled it right, actually. Colorama. Yes, I did. So it's right here. Anyway, I'll hide this. All of the files on the side, and the first thing that I'll do is take all of this text, and this is for the purpose of this little video, and this video is for a reminder of myself, but also actually I might stick this into GitHub if anyone wants like a snippet of the code. Although I'll show where I've taken the code from anyway, because it's actually on the official website. So this is the import color, and the first thing to say is this works in the terminal. And if I just move this over the side, what do we mean when we say the terminal? I wonder if I haven't got it there, but the terminal is this area down below. So this area is the terminal, but I'm just going to show something which I'm going to run it in the interactive Python by pressing Control and Return, and this launches a new interactive Python on the side, and we get this comment here that says this is red text, but the red is not red as we expected, and it doesn't work in an interactive terminal. I expect it wouldn't. The interactive terminal works like a Jupyter notebook. I could test it in a Jupyter notebook. Maybe I'll do that at the end of this video if it's worthwhile. But it's designed to work inside the actual terminal itself. So slightly different. And the reason why I have a hunch it won't work in the Jupyter notebook is because the interactive terminal in Visual Studio Code behaves very similarly to the Jupyter notebook. So I just close this one down. We don't need it. And then we just do an F5 or a run. So I'm just going to hit F5 to run this code. And we see here down below now that says this is red text. That's what we wanted. Just down over here, this is red text. And the red came out as in red. And that was a whole example, at least to start with. It's kind of like, what can we do with this type of stuff? So I guess the first thing to do is I'm going to modularize this. I'm kind of like building this. I've not done like a pre-video or anything. So if I am an R and all the rest of it, it's because I'm doing it straight off the bat. I like to do the examples and code that I do straight off the bat, because then you get to see the struggles that I've done and the pathway to finding it, rather than the whole sort of like, oh, this is the final shiny product. No, this is how you get there with Python. So, or with any coding language. So define a like test color, or in fact let's just do this, because maybe I'll keep it and modularize it. So if _name equals main, and we'll make a main function. So def function, but our function will be main. It's our standard thing, and this is the main module. There we go. This is where our code starts running, and now we can put our little snippet of code. You don't have to do this. This is just a bit more complete. So in fact, I'll do a Control Z. We'll make a second function now, which so def function, another function, and something about, because we're going to move our code in here, we'll call it make red text. Okay, or maybe red text example, red text. So here we go, and we now move our code. So we'll Control X, we will go here and paste it in. So this is our red text. Again, we don't need a docstring. Our red text example, and from our main function now we can, if we want, call our red text example. This is quite elaborate. You don't have to do any of this kind of stuff. You could do it in a very simple script in Python, as I did it earlier, but it's just sort of like nice when you're experimenting to, if you're going to do it and maybe you're going to lift your code, or I don't know if I'm going to or not, if I could use this in some other way, like import this module with useful functions in there, I might build it like this, that's all. So the exact same procedure happens. The if name equals main runs, it calls the main module. The main module then goes and calls this red text example, and then it goes and prints this comment here. So if I press F5, it's going to look exactly the same. I've done nothing more than put structure in. So the next thing to do is all of the stuff that I've really done over here. And actually one of the things is, let's make sure, yeah, we've got import color armor at the top. We want our imports to be at the top of the module, just because it is very clear as to what packages that we've used to run our code. So I did come across this piece as well, which is this init auto reset equals true. So we're gonna try that, and in fact, I'm gonna build it into the next thing. And I did actually do a couple of testing things on this. So everything I'm doing now is live video, but I did do a previous thing where I had a little muck around. And normally actually go into these without even doing that and go like, oh, I'll have a look at and what does this do? But this is actually quite a useful feature, so I'll go into that too. So on the colorama thing over here, we'll make another function, and I'm going to put it into another function. So, and I'm just trying to think, what should I call this function? Something like more example. I'll just call it more examples to start with. So def more examples. Okay, we create this new function, and let's just hit return. You don't need to have the return at the end of your code, but I like to put it there. So in our more examples, there's no arguments that come into our functions. It's just for the purpose of like splitting all of the code up into separate unique functions. So we can stick that in there, which is this colorama.init. In fact, before I even do that, I could have really, and if I was doing a video where I'd colorama and then do dot, and we can see all of the things that are actually available. So, and this is kind of like why it's better to like typing out new. I don't know what these things do, but I see a cursor here, for example. Oh, can I change the cursor? I've got no idea because I've not used this before. Well, we're going to go into that. I do know what that one does. Back, I believe that's for the background color. And style, I have used that one because I pre-tested it. So there's things that like kind of like stand out or maybe are useful. And here there's an init. And I've not looked at it fully, but I know that it's available. But there was this bool equals false, and I sort of like just about know the examples of what it does. But what it actually does do and why it's useful is I was doing this and I was like, well, this is quite clunky, and I don't really want to use color. I like if I just have to import one line for a module, that's fantastic. But I don't want to have to do this in my code, in my print statement, because it's massive just to say the word red and have it read, or like, and then what happens on the next thing. So it's kind of like, what if I want to write just a whole sentence in one color and then have it kind of go back in another color? So we'll go through and show this actually. So let's just take this code. And I made all of these as well because over here, I've still like got this for.red. It's kind of like, how do I shorten it? What can I do? So maybe I'll even iterate towards this. Let's just take this same print statement, right? So something like this. And I could set globals. I'm not a fan of globals, but I might set globals just for the purpose of this module, which is, so I could say something like, let's take all of this, but red equals, and then all of this colorama stuff, and then we get where we're going on this one. And what I'd actually done even before, if I could do red, let's do green equals, it'll be the same, but this time it'll be dot. And again, if I do the dot, we can see all of the different colors that are available. It looks like there's hundreds of, not hundreds actually, it's not that many. We've got black, blue, cyan, yellow, so not that many. That's interesting. Let's stick a green in anyway. And I can't remember what I called it in the last one. Maybe I will lift the actual bit here. I called it no style, and there's also a dim. So in fact, I can take these. It's not really cheating, copying and pasting. I will put it over there. So these are a various bunch of different things that we're going to look for. And the reason why I've done it like this is because I don't want this massive thing over here. And so now this massive thing over here, I'm hoping that it can just be red. Now, those of you that are looking, if you're at how I'm building this code, you might say, well, hold on a minute, do we even need these as globals? So maybe we want to have a bit more structure. So like, and I've just sorted this by class colors. Right. And then I could sort of have colors.red or something. I could have I was also considering, do I import colorama as col, just to shorten it up a little bit. So just different options. I wonder if would that shorten it or would it lengthen it? Because now you've modularized it in a way, and you could sort of like create a style. So color things. There we go, class color things. So I guess something like that, class color things. And then over here, now you notice that the red again has disappeared, so I've got that same problem coming back, but I could do something like C equals color things. Okay, and now here I could have C dot red. So that's quite nice if it works. It looks like it's going to work because everything popped out. When you get to use it, when I put the dot in and the all the methods and attributes pop up and I select one, I know that it's working. That's quite nice. So we've got that. But this code won't run yet because we need to run the more examples. So this little piece of code, we've got to run the more examples over there. So more examples. So we've just got to do that like that. So now what we have is this first module running, which was our original line over here, and then we're going to get this second module in the more examples running down below, but in our slightly different way. And I've got it's actually quite interesting. We got the auto in it here, and then we got the reset auto. Sorry, the colorama in it at the top here without the auto reset equals true, so just as is. And then we've got the colorama dot in it with the auto reset equals true down below. And maybe at this point it's worth pointing out where this actually came from, where I got this idea. I was like, okay, fine, we can do a pip install, you can do a conda install. This is the actual colorama module. Control plus plus plus. This is the actual colorama module. So you can do a pip install and a conda install, and it gives you some great examples. I kind of browse through this for colorama. Just okay. I'm not even sure necessarily what this did, but that wasn't what I was looking to do. I'm looking to do something else, and I'm going to showcase it. And then here, this was quite useful. I looked at this code, and I kind of like actually copied it out, and so it started with that. But again, I don't want a 4.red and a 4. Or sorry, you could do import colorama like this, and then just pull out all of the things that you want, like bespokely with, so from colorama import, and then all the things you want for, and that's for foreground. Back, I don't know if it's for background, but I'm quite sure that it will be. And then style, well, I've tested out, it sort of like changes the style of the font itself. So, and here it's like reset all, so that's kind of like the indication that it's going to go back to normal. And I actually did run this, so I actually copied this whole block of code out and I ran it, but I'm going to reconstruct it in a different way. Or maybe I can do actually sort of like the whole example, copy all of that code, because this is actually what I did. Def. I'll leave that. I wonder if I'll leave that for a minute. I'm just going to run this code actually, and we'll see. We'll build into it. So we're going to run our first piece of code still, which is this red text example. That's going to run this block of code there, and then we're going to run our more examples function next, which is going to run this block of code here, which should be the same. So we can hit F5 and run it. And yeah, exactly, it's all the same, which is fantastic. And also, if we've got, I think, this no style now, I don't need to have all of this long thing in the thing, so I can do a c.no style. There we go, fantastic. So it's much shorter and much easier to read this piece of code if we're doing it in our print statement, and we can run it again down below. And we see that this is red text and this is red text. So everything seems to be working just well so far. Now, just jumping back to this part here, which is like, you know, the documentation example, I could put def docs example 01, because maybe there's more examples. Return. And kind of like just go and paste in all of this code over here. But what it would need is, well, so we've actually got it here. With the import is actually cheekily hidden inside the module. Now that's quite useful in this particular case. So the module is hidden inside of the import of the module is hidden inside of the function. Now that's actually useful in this example case because I don't want to import for, back, and style kind of like bespokely in up at the top here. So because maybe I want to use those keywords elsewhere. I probably wouldn't, but whatever. So it's here in this example, and now we can actually run this example and see. But I kind of like modified it, so or we're not going to use this afterwards. So what do we call now? I think we called it docs example 1. So docs example 1, and if we run that, we get all the stuff that we get, which was this is red text, this is more red text, and then it's got this is red text, and the whole sentence now is in red. And then it's got and with green background and in dim text. So this is where I took all this stuff, and then back to normal now. That's what this did. So let's just take a look at this and see what actually happened. This is this docs example that they gave to us. So if I can click on this, and we've done our import, so that's ticked, we've done that, and then it's got foreground. And what actually happens is everything afterwards becomes red. So it's got here some red text. That's this line over there. You can sort of like see it. This is line 40. It comes out and prints that over there. And then we do back, and that's where, there we go, background. That's that back thing. So it's a background.green. So let's set the background. So there's our green background, and everything's green. Then again, we set the style. So, and here's one question: can we mix styles? So can we, or can we have red text with green background? I believe that we could. Maybe we'll go and test on that, but that's a bit more that we'll call that stage 2, because we've already got a lot of nice stuff that we could use quite fast out of the box, and we really want to have this simplified because this is just a terminal, and so that it's not some elaborate thing. It's just to get some nice, useful, helpful colors into the terminal for ourselves when we do some code. So here we've got our style over here, and then we've got this print reset, print and then style reset all. And this annoyed me, this particular line, because it actually creates a blank line over here. And I don't want this blank line, and then we're back to normal. So it's all fine, but this print style reset all was annoying to me. And I was like, okay, I don't know, like, hopefully I can get rid of that, because I don't want my terminal to sort of like have blank lines just because I've reset a style because I wanted to use some different colors. That would be really annoying. And also I don't want to have to keep remembering to do like for.red, and then at the end of it all, I'm just going to delete all of this, all of our lines. At the end of it all, have to keep on remembering to do the reset. That's going to be really annoying. And somewhere in the documentation, I don't know if I can find it or not, but I did scroll down somewhere, I saw, I don't know where, here, auto reset equals true. And I was like, oh, what does this auto reset equals true do? So if you find yourself repeatedly sending reset sequences to turn off color changes on every print, then do this. And I'm like, well, fantastic. This kind of like makes this module worth having a video on, because now it's really useful. Because this one line means I don't have to keep on like changing the color back. Now I haven't read further down, there might be even more useful things. So this is kind of like just an initial look into this Colorama module. So just continuing on this, let's just do a little bit more, and maybe I'll keep this more example. I'll call this even. I'm going to actually cheat. Now I'm going to change it to the same module name here again, but I'll call it example and then 02. So we've got example 01, and then we're going to have example 02. Right? And that means over here that it's going to be example 01, and now I'm going to have a red underscore example 02, and this name is not going to exist anymore. So here's some nice bits of code basically. And there we go. So everything's going to run exactly the same. We've got a couple of example modules. I'm going to remove the return statements now because we don't need them. We're going to just like move everything in, and this is how our examples will now look. Nice and concise little examples for ourselves. So I might save this into the GitHub for people to use, and it's actually for a reminder for myself anyway. So how else can we kind of like shrink this and get this into a nice format? So this was initially what I was doing. This is with my playing around. And did I get to the end of it? I think I kind of like did. But let's have a look at this. I'm going to say relatively important auto reset equals true. So these two functions, example 1 and example 2, look nearly identical. Apart from that now, example 1, I needed all of this verboseness in here, and example 2, because we created a class at the top, we didn't need that. Like all of our, if we're going to work with text, colored text in the terminal, then this classing is quite nice, because like say you only wanted to put out like 3 or 4 colors or 5 or 6 colors or whatever, or some fonts and some styles. There we go, we can do sort of like all of that quite nicely and just take the bits out of the colorama module that we want. And now we got this auto reset equals true. So we can do something like this, print, and let's make our if statement here and sort of like do a, I guess we could just make this green, right? So we've got the green, it will be C dot green, and then hello world, right? And this is the annoying thing about, well, it's not annoying, but if I didn't have this here, all of the text behind it would then be red. So maybe I will do, I wonder if I, yeah. Let's just do this. Some more text. And just to separate everything, I'll do a print. There we go. Don't even think, I don't need the F string over there. And I should, at least if I'm going to do that, I should use double quotes. I generally speaking actually don't use double quotes anyway. I tend to always use single quotes. But if I've copied and pasted from the example and it's got double quotes, you can intermingle between double quotes and single quotes, but I guess you should have some sort of consistency. So, and just again, just to signify the end of this example here, I do it the same. Let's just take it. There we go. This is sort of like the end of this module, just so that we can see what it looks like in the terminal itself. And finally, over here in our docs example, I'll paste that over here. So we can see our 3 examples kind of like run as they are. Now, this is the thing about it. If I scroll up, this is some red text. This worked perfectly fine over here, because we had this reset all. But now I'll take exactly these same 2 lines of code and paste them over here, but this time I won't do the reset all, and we're going to see, like, the point of this auto reset equals true, which is when we run this piece of code, this entire sentence now over here becomes red. Some more text, it's all red. And I didn't set any colors or anything, and that's because once it appears as though it looks a bit like a tag in HTML or something, like once the color is set to red, it remains at red until it remains in its state until you've changed it to another state. So until you change it to green or something else. So all of the text thereafter is now all red. And that might be a desirable feature, but it's unlikely to, because maybe you just want one color coming up as red. So that's our sort of like red example, and it may or may not be a useful feature. But in our second example, we've got Well, we've had to put a no style in here to start with, but now we're not going to need this no style anymore. So what we can do is, let's just take all of this again. We can paste it down here, but we forget to put in our no style. And then we do exactly the same as above, which is print some more text, just like that. And we're going to run our code. Now we've forgotten to put this c.noStyle over here. And if we didn't have this auto reset equals true, then all of this would turn red. So we run our little piece of code and we get this is some, and notice that the red text here, it just stayed red. And the reason it stayed red is because we didn't do the no style. Now, so we've forgotten it, but we might have just wanted this last character to be red. We didn't need a no style at the end. So we run it again. And it now says this is red. That's fantastic because we just wanted the red feature. We wanted it as simple and small as possible. We've managed to get our string into its smallest possible format, and we didn't have to do a reset style because we got the auto reset equals true, and we could continue on with our code. So we've now got this really, really useful, nice piece of code that works for us. So what I'll do is, I guess we've got dim and other things. So I'm going to do one final example where we can sort of use it. We can sort of see our use cases. So def example use case. Right. Going to be very basic example, but something like maybe we would want to have a for I in range, so something like that. For I in range, I don't know, 20, and then do print f string I am, and then it'd be I years old. Now when we run this, we've got no color at the moment, so we could do, notice we could do this option over here, but we're going to choose to avoid it. But what we're going to do is we're going to use our class at the top, our color things. It's kind of handy, I guess. So I think this is a way that I might start using it when I do use it. I'll do C equals color things. There we go. So now I've got all of the different color things that I need. And I would also need the colorama in it. This in equals auto reset equals true. So I'll take that piece of code there and paste it in. This is all I need now to get color into my terminal, just as simple as that. And now I can start choosing my color. So when I run this at the moment, and I'm going to now, it's quite nice, I don't have to comment whole chunks of code out. This is the nice thing about making this into a whole bunch of different functions, is that I can just comment out the function lines. So there we go, commented out. Let's comment this one out. Let's comment this one out. And actually the function that we want to run now is just the example use case. So we'll do example use case just like that, and that's going to run this little function here. Now when we run this, at the moment we've introduced no colors in here, maybe this pass statement. So let's just run our little piece of code, and we've got I am 10 years old, I am 0 years old, 1 year old, 2 years old, and so forth. Let's try and just introduce our color, and it should be as simple as this, which is C dot, and then whatever color that we wanted. We've got green as one of our options because we've set it for ourselves as green. And let's just run it. And oh, there we go. Issue straight away. And the issue straight away is I didn't want the whole rest of it to be this color. So I'm going to have to do something like this in our particular case. If we just want the middle part of it to be one color, which is kind of like what I intended to show, I'd have to do this C dot and then this no style. So it's kind of like alluding to, I don't know, maybe or maybe not, because the auto reset wasn't helpful in that case. So if I wanted a whole line in one color, it was helpful, and if I wanted something else, it wasn't helpful. So there's different cases where we may or may not use this auto reset. But anyway, if we run this now, we get this I am 10 years old and so forth. Now there was other styles as well, which is, for example, and in dim text, which we saw in our base example from this module, from the actual documentation from the module here. And there's different things. By all means, go and look at the modules. And I also wonder if, because sometimes they do, and it's quite useful, you know, a video is quite useful, but actually sometimes there's like a home page. And there's sort of like some example here, you got some demos. So I've made some demos, but there's actually some demos over here. A whole bunch of demos. You could possibly use some of those. So let's just go back and now what's in demo. Let's have a look. Make it so. I'm just wondering. What's this make it so? I don't know. I'm looking for something quite simple. This one looks quite useful because I'm seeing in the print statement like an end equals, and maybe that's if I can recall rightly, that's kind of like, I think it's always just changing. No, I wonder actually. I've got a separate module on it, but you can actually, you don't have to write in your for loop. You can keep on writing over the original line, which is quite nice as well. Just various different things that you can do to make the terminal become quite useful for you, because having colors in there and having, sometimes we don't want to always just write the additional like each line iterating through, because let's say we had 1,000 lines and we get 1,000 of these. So there's other extra tricks that we can add into this print statement. But let's just go through and do the color thing first. So let's just say something like, and I just wonder, this is our base case, so, but we could say something like, if I is, let's just say if I percentage 2, so if every equals 0, so all of the even numbers, we want to have the color as grey. In fact, I can just tab this out. Else, now we take this exact same code. We could do something like this, and we won't know green here this time, but everything that's even, we will have, I don't know, I think I introduced a dim, we'll see. Yeah, I did, yeah. It was in the class at the top. So we could have something that now looks like this. Let's move our main idiom out of the way. So we could have something that looks like this, and when we run it in our terminal, there we go. We've got dim colors, and then we've got greens, so dim and greens. And we could keep doing this. Red, we could change the background color, and so forth. So I just used like 2 very simple examples here. And I might stop this video. There's other features that you can add onto the end of the print statement. You can make it a bit more elaborate. I think I will stop just because it's kind of like hitting the 40-minute mark, which is long enough for just getting some colors into the terminal. But I think now there's quite a nice little video with a little tutorial, links to some demos. So there's probably some slightly better demos, or at least more demos than the demo that I've created. There's tons of these things over here. There's some bit more complicated ones by the looks of it. What's this one? Def main. Okay. Automatically reset STD out. With color, this text is green. Okay, here's a way of doing it. You could do the 4-dot reset here like that. Now, I've noticed that every time in the modules that I used here, they've done the from Colorama import this and that. So I've used a class and kind of made it, I shortened it even more. But this looks kind of cute too. So there's alternatives. Go have a look you know, the alternatives as well. I'm just wondering if there's any other one. I'm just clicking through them randomly. Again, this one did use the fallback, so the from Colorama imports. How did it use? I'm looking here at how did it use the init this time. It's done an argparse as well. Okay, and it will be used with argparse, which is the thing where you can put your arguments in, and that was what actually was happening. This argparse example might be something to do like, how do I do this, which is in the terminal when I did like Python and then -m, this flag. I want my flags to be in different colors. How do I get this? It looks like this example is catering in some way for that. So it's like, yeah, let's get our, let's make the flags grey, and let's make the other things yellow, and let's make the other things a different color. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. I'm sure you can get quite elaborate with this. I'm going to stop here, but we've got our examples, and we've also got, they've come from the main Colorama, like the main Colorama like documentation module. They've come from that, and that's a built-in module in Python, so it's quite nice, and it worked as is in the code, and that's quite useful. So anyway, if this was sort of like useful, if you're now able to get some colors in, and I've been able to get some colors in a useful way, I will be using this myself in certain ways. I kind of like selfishly made the video for myself, but if you do like this, or if it was useful for you, hit the like button, kind of like hit share, all of the usual things. It'd be quite useful. If there's additional things that, or tricks or something that you can do, definitely put the comments in, because this is a first look at this particular module for myself. So definitely add your comments in, like, you know, if there's something better that you can do, or you've got an example, or you've got a LinkedIn or a GitHub or something that you want to share it on, or a Stack Overflow question or somewhere, that would be quite useful too. And I think I wrap up here. So that was Colorama getting colors into the terminal in Python.